Hey everyone, this is Kevin, welcoming you back. In this video, we're going to talk about some brutal human-based experiments that went terribly wrong. We all know that modern science is making great advancements with every passing day, but there was a time that there were a ton of taboos that prevailed in society which were crossed in the name of experimentation. We will be discussing exactly that in today's video, so make sure you watch until the end as the number 1 entry will literally keep you up at night. Number 10. Chimp and Baby. We all know that of all animals, chimpanzees are one of the smartest. They arguably match human behavior to a certain extent, and American psychologist Winthrop Kellogg wanted to know more about this. He wanted to test how intelligently can chimps adapt to human behavior, and if a baby chimp was to be raised along with a human baby, how well can that baby chimp manage? Kellogg went on to buy a baby chimpanzee, and he named him Gua. For the human side of this experiment, he paired the chimp with his own son Donald. Both Gua and Donald became good buddies, and they did almost everything together. They ate together, and they even played together. Everything was going smoothly until 9 months in. The plan backfired when the human baby Donald started adapting to the chimp behavior more than the chimp adapted to ours. Ironically, Donald started to howl like a chimp and could not develop human language skills. Although Gua did pick up some human behavior, watching his child on the verge of acting like a baby chimp more and more every day, Winthrop Kellogg decided to stop the experiment for good. Number 9. Testicle Radiation. When different radiations were being experimented with, this infamous incident took place, and it went down as one of the most scandalous ones in history. Back in 1963, a circular was passed out that an experiment will be conducted on male prisoners. They will be given $25 to take part in it. They want to study the effects of X-rays on human testicles. The officials claim that the intensity of the X-rays would be very low, and they just want to see how the human body would react to that. But these claims were different from the actual experiments that were conducted on those prisoners. The intensity of these radiations was almost 6 times the intensities that were previously discussed, and obviously catastrophic outcomes followed. With that much intensity from the X-rays, the bodies of the patients reacted terribly. No one knew what the side effects of the X-rays would be at that time, and that's why this experiment got even worse. Patients did develop some conditions such as allergies, but on the more extreme side, they also got testicular cancer. Now that is a very rough way to earn $25. When the organization was sued, the victims got $2,000 from the government as compensation. The infections were intense, and of course, some prisoners even lost their lives for the sake of this experiment. Number 8. David Reimer. David led a miserable and rather confusing life. If you ask me, it was mainly the doctor's fault. David was born on August 22, 1965 in Canada. When the baby boy was circumcised, the surgery was treated poorly by doctors. This physically damaged him severely. This was nothing short of an experiment, since the methods used to treat the condition were not conventional. Needless to say, this turned out really bad for the child, and the doctors then suggested raising him as a girl, and they also thought that a sex change operation would be the best option possible. His parents agreed, and from there David was raised as a girl. But they did decide to tell the truth when David turned 14 years old. This was followed by a series of reverse sex surgeries, which turned out to be successful. But unfortunately, the damage had been done. David suffered from a good amount of mental issues due to his traumas, and partly due to all the hormonal changes as well. His years of suffering ended when David committed suicide by shooting himself when he was just 38 years old. From here, the intensity of these human-based experiments are going to increase. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon as well. This way you will never miss any video from us. Now back to this video. Number 7. Dioxin Test. Dioxin is a highly toxic compound which is extremely dangerous for human beings. It has cancerous material which can cause reproductive and immune system related problems. Since it is so dangerous, it would probably be better to stay away from it, right? Dermatologist Albert Kligman believed otherwise. He wanted to use this chemical and see how it would react with human skin. That general mindset could be understood once you take into consideration that he thought of subjects as just acres of human skin to experiment experiment on, nothing else. He injected hundreds of patients with dioxin, and obviously a lot of those probably died. We unfortunately don't have any specific numbers on this one since the records have been completely destroyed. Number 6. Monster Study. This experiment is one of the most hated experiments in modern history. It was conducted by Wendell Johnson back in 1939, and it included 22 stuttering children who were orphans. This gave Johnson the freedom to treat the children the way he wanted, a freedom that he completely exploited. The children were divided into 2 groups, and the main intention of this experiment was to see how conditions of treatment would affect a dysphemic person. While one group of children was appreciated for their efforts to communicate, the others were teased for their inability. Of course, the ones that were praised developed more confidence and were able to improve more. But obviously things did not go so well for the ones that were laughed at. The other half of the children lost all their motivation to communicate, and a lot of those children were so traumatized that they could not speak ever again. All of them suffered from chronic mental conditions as well. Number 5. Guatemalan syphilis. Guatemala is a small country near Mexico. Back in 1946, a team of doctors went to the country in order to conduct experiments on a growing STD called syphilis. They wanted to test the effect of penicillin on the patients of this disease, and the team decided to conduct a mass experiment. It was led by John Charles Cutler, who was part of another syphilis experiment in Tuskegee. So, for the experiment, the team of both US and Guatemalan doctors infected around 1,308 soldiers, locals, and some prostitutes with syphilis. The most horrific part of that story is that only half of them were given penicillin. That was of course the turning point, and almost 83 people died. How bad this experiment was can be estimated by the fact that American President Barack Obama had to apologize on behalf of his whole nation to the Guatemalan president. If you want to check out similar content, make sure you subscribe to our channel. At number 4, TGN 1412. This experiment was not intended to be fatal for any human initially, and the main purpose of this was to test a suitable drug for the cure for leukemia. The name of the drug was TGN 1412, and unlike others in this list, this drug was first tested on animals. It proved completely harmless for the animals, so it was moved to the second stage where it was tested on humans. It is to be noted that they were careful about not risking anything, so they injected a 500 times weaker dosage to the humans than they gave to the animals. The results were shocking. Some of the subjects faced critical organ failure, which landed them on hospital beds. This made huge news, and the researchers started to find out why this happened. All the people affected were men, and they had serious headaches, nausea, vomits, and their tissues started to swell. Other than that, they felt shortness of breath, while many subjects also faced a drop in blood pressure. The experiment was immediately called off. Number 3, Unit 731. This unit was a secret part of the Japanese army during World War II. The main intention of this unit was to conduct horrific experiments on a ton of people. Sources claim that more than 1 million people were tortured by this unit. The majority of these people were Chinese hostages who were bound and tortured by Unit 731. They conducted spine-chilling experiments against the will of these subjects. These experiments included unnecessary amputation of limbs without anesthesia, cutting skin with different methods. The Japanese further used these subjects to check the potential of their weapons, and a good amount of these hostages lost their lives in weapons tests. The Japanese tried to hide the truth by destroying evidence, but the truth still came out. A good amount of information on this experiment is still coming into light every day. Are you terrorized yet? These have been some really scary experiments so far. But what if I tell you that number 1 is going to be even more intense? Make sure you watch until the end. Number 2, MK Ultra. This is one of the most infamous names on this list. Due to the fact that this experiment was conducted by the CIA, there is not a lot of proof that has been made public. These experiments were conducted back in the 1960s and 70s by the CIA in order to see the effects of LSD on human beings. They believe that when the drug LSD is given in high amounts to the human body, it can give rise to mind control and similar telepathic powers. So, a lot of subjects were given high amounts of this drug, which made them suffer. A lot. Some people lost their ability to process things completely, while others were bedridden for life. Some people claim that the subjects were abducted and that they did not give their consent to be a part of the experiment. This is made more evident by the fact that a good amount of the subjects were not even Americans. Since the experiment was conducted by the CIA, anyone who wanted to raise this issue was found dead in mysterious and seemingly murderous conditions. And of course, all the documentation of the experiment has been destroyed as well. And number 1, the Russian sleep experiment. This experiment is so bizarre that some people think that it never even took place. The story goes back to the 1940s during World War II, where fighting countries wanted their soldiers to be highly attentive and aggressive. The biggest thing that they were fighting, other than enemy soldiers, was sleep. In order to fight sleep, some countries decided to give drugs to their soldiers, while some used other tactics. But things were different in Russia. The Russian scientists had discovered a mysterious gas which could keep anyone awake for more than a month. But these were all theories, and an experiment had to be conducted. For this, 5 prisoners of war were given the opportunity to be a part of the experiment, and in return, they would get their freedom. The deal seemed to be really convincing to them, so they agreed. They were given food and beds, but they had to stay awake for 30 days straight. They were moved to a chamber which had a constant supply of the mystery gas. Everything was good for the first few days, but on the 4th day, one of the subjects had died. Upon opening the chamber, the scientists found that the subjects had all become lunatics and they had started scratching off their own skin. They got addicted to the gas and could not survive without it. Now you tell us, do you think this one could be plausible, or do you think that it's just complete fiction?